Welcome dear students. So today we'll be starting a course on disaster management. As we are aware that in the live classes, 100% attendance is a big issue, and many of the students miss out some of the key lectures, maybe because of varying reasons. Uh, we have been shifting to online education recently, and it has not been very 100% effective, just as conventional one, because of varied reasons like unavailability of internet or slow internet or maybe any of the reasons. So what I've decided that I will be starting with the recorded lecture sessions, and in the classes, meanwhile we'll be having discussions regarding the doubts which will be put by you, and I will be solving your doubts in the lectures. And for the rest of the course, the recorded sessions will be circulated. Okay, so let us start. So today we'll be discussing some of the objectives, scope, and outcome of this course, why we are studying. And this course is your 760 E660 dot 2. This is your open elective course, and myself Dhruv Saxena, I am from Department of Civil Engineering. So let us start our discussion on disaster management. Some introduction. Here you can see a number of words randomly arranged. So these words, if you try to focus, some or the other way, they are much more related to the various disasters which might occur, and what are the things which are related to the disaster management. Okay, so pause this video, try having a look at the very all the words, different words, and let us move ahead. So disaster, if whenever this word comes to our mind, especially talking about the Indian aspect, the two biggest disasters, or maybe the three biggest disasters which we commonly get a sense of, are tsunami, the Gujarat Bhuj earthquake, as well as the recent Nepal earthquake. So generally, generally earthquakes and maybe floods or tsunami-like ocean phenomena generally come to our mind when we talk about disasters. But disasters can be of even much more different aspects also. Like recently, we are facing the disaster worldwide, which is the pandemic disaster due to coronavirus. And as you can see in these pictures, this one is for fire, this one is earthquake based disaster. Then coming to this one is because of flood, this is because of drought. So different conditions may develop which may lead to different types of disasters. Further, there might be cyclones, there might be thunderstorms, or there might be tsunamis. Again, there might be a huge amount of disaster in the nearby areas due to them. Also, if a combined effect, which has a very low probability, if a combined effect is observed, then again it creates a lot of issue for the local residents as well as the government for that particular area. Now, talking about the context which the university has placed for you all to study. So, I have taken out the syllabus for this particular course. There are some things to note that around 150 marks is the criteria weightage. It is a 3 credit course, and these are some of the topics which we need to cover. This is a very simple subject, and what you need to do, we need to take the basic ideas. We need to go in a depth of particular points which the university has mentioned. Also, since this is a new course, so not much of the previous year papers might be available. So what I will do, I will provide you with the question bank in the Google Classroom itself. So it will be much more helpful for preparing for this examination. First unit covers the introduction, and today we'll be discussing about the objective, scope, and outcome of this course. Next, from next lecture, we'll be starting about understanding the disaster concepts. What are the various approaches, and what are the vulnerabilities, mainly the characteristics of various kinds of disasters, maybe natural, maybe man-made. Further, we'll be discussing types of disasters, in detail. So we'll be covering all these disasters. As you can see, currently we are facing this pandemic, which was earlier epidemic to China. Now it has turned out to be a pandemic across world. In the next unit, we'll be moving on how to assess the hazard. There is a considerable difference between hazard and disaster. See, hazard is basically just the potential. Okay, something can happen. So assessing the potential disasters is a big thing. So hazard and disaster, this is the basic difference. That disaster is the action, whereas hazard is the potential which can occur at any time. So what are the management criterias? How vulnerability assessment is done? What are different criterias? What are how recovery is done? So these are some of the we call them development, prevention, mitigation, and preparedness. We call them as the pillars of disaster management. So this again becomes very important. Next, moving on, we will be discussing about capacity building. So what we basically mean is how to take measures to improve the structural and non-structural integrity of a particular community or maybe some infrastructure, and what are the various types of legislative support that government has been providing over the years. What are the different bodies? We'll be seeing about them. uh, uh, they have given a considerable amount of weightage, as you can see here. So we will be discussing in detail these particular topics. Also, I request that since this is a very new course and not a particular book contains all these topics as a whole, so we need to shift to a new system of learning. That is already we have shifted, that is e-learning. So what you need to do, you need to also uh, Google out some various topics which are important. So the overall study can be done by those measures only. Next, in the fifth unit, we'll be discussing about the coping with disaster, various different strategies, what are the adjustment processes, also the changing concepts of disaster management, what are the various safety plans which the industries have to follow, the various norms. As you might have seen, if you used to go to any industry, there was considerably less awareness about disaster management, and if we visit some of the industries now, then a lot of importance is given to the lives of the labor, to the engineers, to the various factory workers, to how to survive any case of emergency. Like for example, when we go to cinema hall, earlier there was not much of an arrangement, but now the norms have been improvised, and if you have noticed, there are various fire extinguishers placed on the walls along with various exit gates. Further, there will be the sixth unit, and we will be discussing about management planning and how strategies are developed. So what are the steps for formulating a disaster reduction plan? So this becomes again important. We will be learning mainly about the acts and policies in India. We will be touching some of the concepts of the global scale as well. So there are some bodies at the global level which also consider and give importance to disaster management. Further, again we will be covering some of the case studies, and mind it, if it is mentioned in the syllabus that case studies separately, then we can definitely expect some of the questions in the midterms as well as in the end semesters, which will be covering case studies of natural and man-made disasters, and what are the not just the disasters, what are the preparedness that was involved and the planning involved. If from the recent experience, if you have been following news, so talking about particularly our state, that is Rajasthan. So what has happened that if recently Bhilwara model of COVID management came into limelight because of the very effective management, how the administrators, how the bureaucratic bodies, how the disaster relief bodies, how the policing work together to control the spread of coronavirus in that particular area. So such type of case studies become quite important, and we can expect such problems coming up in the exam as well. So we need to understand how to answer the case study problems and how to study them. Now let us see some of the objectives of disaster management. So primarily it deals with reducing damages and deaths. It reduces personal suffering. It relates to the speedy recovery and to protect the victims. So the objective, we can divide it into six elements: the pre-disaster phase, okay, and then the prevention, mitigation, and preparedness. So these are the pre-disaster phase. Prevention we are very well aware about. Preparedness we are very well aware about, that how to prepare for any kind of disaster. For example, if your particular city or particular area is in under some earthquake zone, high level earthquake zone, then the structures will be designed in such a way that you are already prepared that okay, such time kinds of earthquakes might occur. So I prepare my house or my office structure in such a way that the minimum losses occur in case of a disaster and we don't lose any life. Mitigation again resolves around the various aspects, various methods which we use to mitigate, or to how can we alternatively cope up with the disaster which might occur. Like for example, every year we hear that in the areas of eastern Bihar, northeast, and parts of Odisha, due to heavy rainfall and melting of snow, the rivers in these areas they tend to overflow from their danger level, even from the danger level. And what happens that the water comes to the land, and it spreads around in the villages, in the cities, which creates a havoc in these areas every year. Even currently, also Assam is facing the worst of the floods, and various disaster management bodies are continuously working there to provide assistance to all the people there. The disasters of floods are such a high concern that the each and every you can imagine that all the households are gone, and generally why they are gone, because they are generally of kacha construction techniques, and they are made of mud or some bamboo. So what happens when this heavy water flows through them, and it completely vanishes out their entire house and all. So not much of prevention or mitigation has been developed there due to various reasons. Might be economic reasons, might be political reasons, might be different things. Let us not go into much depth right now. Now let us discuss about the post-disaster phase, which includes what are the things which our government has to do once the uh, disaster has happened, and what are the post-disaster methods or the things which they need to focus. So the first one is the response, how the government responds. Then it is rehabilitation. What do you mean by rehabilitation? Rehabilitation means that maybe like currently, again I'll take the example of the Assam floods. So if the people there have to be rehabilitated, so we need to send the special forces there to pick up those people from the particular high zones of high risk, and we need to shift them to a different location which is safer. So we need to rehabilitate these people. Reconstruction again, once the disaster is over, like let us take another example of maybe let us say Kedarnath flood. So what happened? The entire area was washed away due to that what we say as cloud burst. So what happened now that after a couple of years, after entire that broken parts and damaged buildings, they were removed. The broken masses, the solid waste, as we say then technically. So once solid waste are removed from there, so again reconstruction has to be done. And now I hope that special care will be taken while constructing or designing the buildings there, and which will be revolving around such catastrophes which might occur, such as cloudburst, etc. Further, let us move ahead. So, as I said earlier, these are the four pillars of disaster management. So, first one is preparedness, then mitigation, preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. Don't try to note these things. I will share this presentation in the Google Classroom. Okay. Let us move ahead. Some of the further objectives which we need to focus. Identifying the hazard. So see, what are these objectives? We don't need to memorize or something. We are just discussing the syllabus right now. So identifying the hazard and its cause, we will be studying in it in the upcoming lectures and the upcoming units. Further, reducing vulnerability, assessing, reviewing, controlling risk, applying efficient, effective, sustainable relief methods, medical aids, and other facilities. Further, reducing the damage, deaths, and sufferings and destruction of any natural or human-induced disaster. Now, what suffering means here, I wish to focus on this one. See, once a disaster has taken place, let us say fortunately unfortunately, if some or other disaster takes place in the city of Ajmer, so what will happen, the people of Ajmer might, some of them might even go into some psychological disorder, or they might get weak emotionally. So these are the some of the sufferings that are considered even worse than the death. So such kinds of things need to be focused. Further, the victims need to be given protection. As you might have heard in the case of tsunami, what happened, that the victims, the people who died, or the people who were in the very critical situations, we heard some news that that some of the thieves, they robbed even those dead bodies, and even the people who were about to die. So such kind of things must not happen. Also, the protection measures include the rehabilitation work, that the people who have been saved from those particular disaster zones must be taken to a separate area. Further, strength among the people to survive against disasters. So this can be improved by creating much awareness about the various disasters. Further, building up capacity in every sector, like individual, social, economic, environmental, regional, national, and international. So this is what I was focusing about. That recently, the much after some of the worst disasters that our Earth has faced. So various bodies have been formed which deal with various measures which need to be taken for this uh, and disaster management. So even from starting from the individual level to international level, we need to consider and we need to study as a student of disaster management. Further, ensuring the availability of local emergency equipment and transportation. Now again, this also becomes a very important thing for rehabilitation. Even take, let us take the example of Gujarat Bhuj earthquake. So local emergency equipment there included the heavy machineries which were required to shift the solid waste, the broken buildings. So what happens, that no one was knowing that such a huge disaster might come up. So no one was prepared actually. So now the efficiency comes out, the optimization comes out when, for example, let us say if you are putting heavy machinery in the areas of Assam where flood is the most common disaster, so it will not be of much use. So the equipment or the other transportation emergencies which might be required might be motorboats or some of the swimming equipment for the villagers or for the people of that particular northeast areas. So again, optimization plays an important role, and the local bodies must be prepared. Let us move ahead. Some of the other objectives. Achieving quick recovery from disaster, long-term planning is required. Okay, this becomes again important. Now, after the Gujarat Bhuj earthquake, I would like to share some of the facts with regards to the earthquake engineering aspect. I myself, I was having one of the topics in as my electives of earthquake engineering during my study of civil engineering. So what we learned, that after the earthquake happened, that the various zones, earlier the country was divided into 5 zones. Now basically the country has been, the first zone has been removed, which was the least vulnerable, and a much higher importance and the factors of safety were further enhanced and improvised for various zones, and the recalibration was done, re improvisation was done to improve the code Well, now, what is the role of the codes that I'm mentioning? See, codes are used by civil engineers, structural engineers to design various infrastructure so that they adhere to the standards or designed by the international and national bodies, and these are designed from based upon the various research from different point of views. Next, we have shifting exposure from vulnerable area into safe place, further ensuring safety, equity, quality of to all organisms, especially human beings. Now, why I've mentioned especially human beings, because let us take another example. Recently, there was a fire in Australia. Earlier, there was a fire in Amazon forest. So what happened? Thousands and thousands of animals were killed due to that fire. Most common fires that occur internationally, they occur in the areas of Indonesia and Philippines, where a lot of thick forests are found. And what happens in the dry season, due to some or the other reasons, what happens that fire might develop, and what unfortunate thing happened that uh, a lot of animals or different organisms, they happen to die there. They are killed due to that disaster. Further, we have increasing the availability, safety of natural resources, creating awareness about disaster and its mitigation process among people. And this is very much we are aware about even in during our school times. I hope the same practice are followed even now. So we in various communities, in various schools, colleges, and different societies or at different summits, a special focus is always taken and given to disaster management. Next, we have giving warning before disaster, thus people can be prepared. So, one of the example of giving warning earlier is from the IMD department, that is Indian Meteorological Department. I will take the example of the fishery bodies or the fishermen who go into deep ocean, maybe in the Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. So sometimes what happens due to some monsoonal activities phenomena, some cyclone might develop or high tide might develop, which might be catastrophic for the ones who are present in that part of ocean. So we have developed such a warning systems that we can provide the information 1 to 2 days earlier to all the fishermen on all the fisheries and all these communities, so that they can prevent themselves, and if someone is present in the deep oceans, he can come back safely. Further, to make efforts for conservation of environment, again environmental importance is given. Further, I have taken a chart diagram which includes the four pillars along with some of the detailed discussion. See, now importance is now given to forecast and warning also. So again, then emergency planning of stockpile supplies, like for example, like in the case of corona, must have observed that a lot of laborers were forced due to unavailability of cash in hand, and they were forced to move to their native villages, and it created a different kind of emergency. So some stockpiled supplies definitely help in such kind of situations where governments can distribute the essentials at a free rate or maybe a very low charges. So again, this becomes a very important thing. Again, there are some insurance policies, further improved land use, zoning, building codes, craftsman training. So again, improvisation is required in each and every aspect, in the building codes, in the how the land is used. Are this enough safety precautions are being taken during the reconstruction period? Okay. Next, in the mitigation aspect, better applications of science and engineering for retrofitting, education for better building practices. So this becomes important for those who are not aware about engineering and retrofitting. See, what is retrofitting? If there is a disaster, or if let us assume that uh, we have a building in our Ajmer city, and it has been aged, and or maybe it has faced some of the other disaster. So what retrofitting includes, that the analysis is done that whether this current structure can be somehow using some engineering technology, can we use the same structure, can we increase the strength of the same structure, or in case the answer is negative, then should we break down the structure and reconstruct it completely? So retrofitting involves improving or enhancing the strength of the current structure which has gotten weak due to any of the reasons. Further aim of disaster management includes quick and effective communication system in every sector. Now this has become quite easy due to availability of smartphones, but in the disaster, what might occur that these cell phone towers, even they might break, so we need to take care of placement of such towers as well. Further, formulating and implementing policies, reporting, analyzing, monitoring risk performance, etc. Planning and executive communities. So we will be studying about it later, like climate change risk management body and all. So further, we will have engaging with disaster education, training, research, adaptation, and management activities. So these are some of the topics we will be covering later. Coordinating and collaborating with all disaster management and related organizations. So as you can see in this whole slide, we have given a lot of importance to various bodies, policies, and organizations. So we need to definitely give a good amount of focus to all such things. Further, we need to integrate all other humans resource and development programs. Okay, so integration, what does integration means? That when even you are considering some other aspect, you must consider that a disaster might occur. For example, let us say you are a mechanical engineer. So uh, we generally, if we are talk about designing an automobile, we basically need four wheels, a seat to sit there, and an engine which can run. But why now so much focus is given to the management of safety? So because that is also one type of localized disaster. If some accident happens, you might have heard various times in various news that some of the brands of automobiles are providing very poor type of construction of their automobiles which are not at all safe. So this and whereas some of the companies I would like to name like Volvo, and then they have been pioneer in the field of providing safety to their customers who buy their automobiles. So such kind of integration amongst the resource and development programs as well as the human interference is very much required. Further, I have again taken a text grouping, and there are numerous words in this. So again, there the focus has been to community, disaster, emergency, resilience, nature, then management, recovery, earthquakes, building recovery, communications, force rescue, force protection, operation disaster, resilience, risk management. So again, we can focus on various things as a whole, which we will be covering under our syllabus. Now, moving on to the scope of disaster management. So this the main things I have highlighted here. So again, we will be focusing in the upcoming lectures like logistics, information management. Now, aerial photography has also become very easy with the help of drones. So easily we can assess how disaster has created the havoc. What are the various zones which need emergency assistance if there are some lives uh, which are which can be preventable, which can be taken to hospital. Further, we will be having tools for post disaster management, mapping techniques, mitigation tools, preparedness tools. Now refugee assistance models are there, some we'll be discussing in detail later. Then phases, government's role, victim relief systems, disaster aims for natural and man-made disasters separately. So now I have provided you this triangle which gives out the various bodies at national level, state level, and even distributed amongst state, district, and local level. So as you can see above, at the bottom of it, uh, it's like this slide, particular diagram has been drawn for Australian government, so we can write here Indian government because the working remains the same. Okay. So what happens that we have a separate disaster department which undertakes the disaster management group. Then we have at the state level we have state coordination committees, district coordination groups. We have our local disaster management groups. So we can divide various arrangements, like you might have heard about NDRF, SDRF. These are various disaster response forces. So again, even they are divided among states. We will see where are the prominent locations where these NDRF teams have been placed, so that way they can provide quick response in case of any disaster. So, what will be the outcomes after the studying the disaster management course? That all the students, you all will be quite familiar with all the various aspects of disaster management, mitigation, preparedness, and all the various aspects. You will be able to integrate the things, integrate the disaster management concepts into the other policies or processes which you might follow. And now some of the points I have mentioned here. Appropriate actions at all points in the cycle can lead to greater preparedness, better warnings, reduced vulnerability, and prevention of disasters during the next iteration of cycle. So what it says that we need to learn from if there is a new disaster like Kedarnath floods, and since we have learned a lot from those that disaster, we can now move on, and we can do the reconstruction, and also we can note down some of the key points which might be useful even for the other areas which are similar to that. Okay, next we have the disaster management cycle shaping of public policies. This becomes quite relevant now again, and capacity to obtain, analyze, and communicate informations on risk, relief needs, and lessons learned from earlier disasters in order to formulate strategies for mitigation in future scenarios. So based upon the topics which I have covered in the syllabus, there will be various things which we will be studying about various disasters, maybe natural, maybe man-made. We will be studying from chemical disasters to pandemics to earthquakes to floods to cyclones. So this is a quite interesting subject, and I hope you all have enjoyed this session, and will be enjoying the next session as well, where we'll be starting the unit, and we'll be covering some of the prominent topics. So if there are any doubts or queries, you can directly message me. You all are having my contact number of WhatsApp, or you can email me. And also, if there are any confusions or doubts regarding the course uh, layout, then we may discuss in the live lecture. So thank you for watching. See you in the next one.